Slingin Dirt Media, DJ Smollett here in the shop with Eric Wilkymacky. Eric, this is a little different from the last time we were talking about racing.
Yeah, we're getting close. There's Sean. Oops. Sean's been over here playing in the garage, and
So what are you guys building? What's the plan with this?
Well, originally it was built for. I guess I can name drop, right?
You can say what.
All right, so it was built for Caleb Burgess, and then he started driving for his dad, Rick Gibson, so here I am, with all this metal, and
gotta do something with it.
So I was like, well, we'll just put it together, and Sean and I can jump in it and have some fun. And I haven't been in the car in years.
Years? Yeah. Has it been that long now?
Oh God.
It don't seem like it.
2000. Yeah. So for me, man, it's I think I'm the only driver at the track that I know that talks about it. Man, I wasn't any good, dude. I wasn't, man. I was like a weapon out there for my first year. I just had very minimal help. I came out and I bought all new stuff, and I think some people were. I don't know, man. We're kind of mad at they're mad at you because you go out and do this stuff, and I get it. But I didn't have any help, so.
But at the same time, you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, dude,
you got to learn somewhere.
I didn't know shit. So, oops, I don't know if I'm about to cuss on here or not.
You can say whatever.
But yeah, so I didn't know nothing, man. So I bought a dirt car, knew nothing about it. How that came about is my wife asked me if I wanted to get a race car, and because I had street cars at that time.
Yeah. And
I'm like, well, hell, if you're gonna be okay and you're going to encourage me to buy a race car, sure,
yeah.
We'll go buy a race car. So we looked around. Bill Toter helped me look around some, because he knew about it more than I did, and
that's questionable. But no, I'm just kidding.
He still knew more than I did. So like I said, I didn't know anything. So so we found a car in Illinois, and it was a show car. It was a 2003 Rocket that had low nights on it.
Okay.
And I bought that in 2000, probably 16, I'm guessing, maybe 17.
Yeah.
And
I think I remember this car.
Yeah, it was yellow. It was yellow and had the body on it. I mean, the car was gorgeous to look at.
This was the Thomas Moore.
Well, it was that chassis, but yeah, we put a new body on it.
Okay.
The original body was yellow. Kurt Addison actually ended up taking the body, but the original body was yellow with orange skirting and everything on it. And then, so this car, like I said, it was a show car. It's set in a mall, all its life. Everything on this thing was polished.
Looked good.
It looked amazing. So, like I said, I took it out, man, and I know nothing about tires, like grinding tires. I didn't know nothing about that.
Right.
So, I just took this thing out, ran it as it was, and be honest with you, I didn't do Hayful the first night or two out in the car, and then you start, you start
getting braver.
You start getting braver and braver and braver, and then, and then I ended up wrecking the damn thing. My parents came to one of the races, and I remember Bobby Mullins came up to me, and he said, "That's the hardest you ever raced." He said, "I knew you were probably going to try your best tonight," because it was the first time my parents been at the track. Buddy, that's when I found out a Uke tire will not move. No, it destroyed the front of that car.
Yeah.
So we put it back together, got the new body on it, and then it was the championship race.
Okay.
And Carson Freeman called me because when I first started out, my rule of thumb was if I got lapped.
Yeah.
When it was safe, I would pull in the infield.
Okay.
Because I know how much I had in my car.
Sure.
So I could appreciate what people had in theirs. I didn't want to tear their car up.
Yeah.
So
that's respectable.
Yeah. So Carson Freeman called me, and he's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I'm like, I was like, I don't want to junk someone's car.
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, but you know where you're at in points?" And I was like, "Oh, you know what you're talking about."
What's points? What's points?
So I was like, "No." He's like, "Man, I think you're." I think I was 5th or 6th in points.
Okay.
And so after that, I'm like kind of opened my eyes a little bit, taught me something. And and Carson and Stan, they were awesome to, help for me. And then that's when, to be honest with you, that was probably, I think Stan was probably the first one to come up to me and help me at the track.
Really?
Yep. I'm almost 100% positive it was
that
Stan.
That just totally sounds like Stan Freeman.
Yep. So then, I still struggle with racing. I didn't know much about the bars, and then, started learning a little bit here and there. But the big thing for me that really helped me out is Thomas Moore wanted the car at the track, at an event.
Okay.
So something was going on, and I had to go out of town, and Mike Gimmer was working with me at the time. And I asked Mike, I said, hey, would you pull the car out of the trailer and park it down at the football field for me or near it? And he's like, yeah, I'll take care of it. And so he called me up. He goes, man, you're pushing this fuel pedal like pushing a brick. I'm like, well, I'm used to drag racing. I'm like, is that bad?
Yeah.
So I had no throttle control.
Really?
So I was always wide open.
Okay.
So I spun out a ton at Florence. I think John Salin, I'm on several of his highlight reels.
Yeah.
So once we corrected that, I rented the track, bought a new set of tires, gave myself, every advantage I could to learn as much that day as possible. Right. And Chad Hahn came down. I think Brandon Ramsey came over that day, and then somebody else. Hell, it might have even been Josh Dietz. I'm not sure, but someone else was there to help me that day at the track, and I was able to run. It was the best I ever ran, and unfortunately, that was the last time I was on the track.
Really?
Yep. So after that,
just was that good and decided to retire? Or?
No, I wish that was the case, but it was the best I ever felt.
Record or something?
Yeah, it was the best I ever felt in the car. I was able to go wherever I wanted to, except at that time no one ran the cushion in a crate, so I wasn't messing around up there. But so I had a lot of confidence after that, and then that was the last time I really was on a track. So I took a job in Miami, Florida, and I flew back and forth every Monday and Friday for 2 years, man. I mean, and then what a lot of people don't know is I didn't even go home. One time Bill picked me up with the truck and trailer at the airport, and we're straight to, I think, Richmond or somewhere, or Ponderosa maybe. But for 2 years, man, and so I started getting burned out on racing. That's when I'm like, man, okay. So then I think my car was all set, ready to go, just sitting in the garage, and we ended up putting Vern Lefevre's in it. And then, I'll skip the part of the story, probably the main part why I'm not in a car. So that might be the picture that's up there you guys can't see. That's me sitting in that car right there.
I'll get a picture of that.
And there is a picture. I have the exact picture of my last time hitting the track at Florence. So I can't remember who took it, but probably Alcorn took the picture.
Okay.
And it's me getting ready to come over the berm and drop down on the track. And I had my cell phone with me because my daughter was due any minute. So someone came running over to me and said, hey, your daughter's going to labor. I turned the car around, loaded up. I promise you I was out of Florence in 10 minutes. Man, I was gone. So,
gone.
Yep, and that was it. That was the last time in the car.
Okay, I got questions. You kind of threw a lot out there. Yep. We got to go back to the throttle thing. You said it was so stiff it was like a drag car.
Yep.
Okay, I've never sat in a drag car.
Yep.
Are drag gas pedals like hard or something?
Well, you just mash that sucker, and unless you're getting in trouble, then you're feathering it, you're letting out. But other than that, man, if you got a good track and you're hooking, you let off the button and it's boom, 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 you're done. Yeah.
Okay, that leads to way more questions I'm going to get into. But like I always in my car, I always had a stiffer spring because I liked being able to feel it. I didn't want it so loose. Yeah. I liked being able to feel what I was getting into, and I guess every kind of driver's got their own preference.
And that's how I was too, but it was that car was extremely stiff.
Yeah.
I think altogether
it was bad stiff.
It was bad stiff. soon as I don't know if it was Mike or Chad that took the springs off of it, because I had a ton of springs because in drag racing, you want to make sure that returns there.
Yes.
So we took it off, and then I could control the car way better. Yeah. So that was a huge plus for me.
I had the throttle stick one time. And man, that's a whole nother experience right there. You go into the corner and you lift, and it doesn't lift, and you're just like, oh boy.
Oh yeah.
This is going to be a new track record into the wall.
I've done that one. Coming out of 4, got up into the cushion during hot laps, man, and had a bunch of people there to hang out and watch me race. And hot laps.
Ain't it funny how that goes? That's when it happens. When you got the crowd there, you got the fan base there. That's when.
We were able to get back out that night, and we had some fun. And So then, man, I'm trying to think how all this played out. But we did jump around, and I was gonna go back to that first car, that 03 Rocket.
Okay.
The first time someone ever actually jumped in the car to help me out on the track. I called Joey Kramer, and he changed a lot for me. So, so Joey jumped in at 03, and it was like a scene from a movie, man. It really was. I wish we had the GoPro on. So he took it out for hot laps. He comes back in, and he's taking his belt off, and he's telling me what a heap of shit this thing is. And he gets underneath there. My parents were there that night too. It was a check that was back to the track championship night.
Yeah.
And so Joey does all his stuff, goes out for the heat race.
Okay.
And he comes back in. He goes, "You get me a gear, I'll win this tonight." And man,
really?
Nobody would give that dude a gear.
No, yeah.
He went up and down because he took this car that was running in the back every weekend, and he put it right in the front.
Yeah.
And man, nobody would give him a gear.
Oh, ain't that heartbreaking?
Yeah, and
they knew.
But we had an absolute blast.
Yeah.
We had an absolute blast that night. And
Joey's got a ton of experience, a ton of knowledge, and he's good at it.
Oh yeah. First time I went to Joey's shop, opened a door, and he's cutting the front end. It was someone's brand new modified.
Yeah.
I mean, this car's never even seen a track. And the whole friggin' clip just falls out of the front of it. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, well, I know what chassis it is. I'm not going to say it. But he's like, I'm going to make this thing fast. I'll let you guys figure out what chassis it was. But
we're going to fix it.
Yeah, he's like, we're going to make this fast.
Yeah.
And so we started hanging out, and he was the only guy that was touching my cars at the time.
Okay.
And then
that's a pretty good guy to be.
Yeah. His mom was always busting my butt, man. She's giving me crap, so we enjoyed it. And then my dad's a huge Joey Kramer fan.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So
that dude's won some races.
Yeah.
Dude not only he's won some championships.
Oh yeah.
He's a guy I need to get on the show.
But he's probably got a little bit of time right now.
He's probably got a little time right now.
Yeah, he's slowed down a little bit, but he's picking it back up.
Okay.
So, but I haven't spoke to Joey in quite some time.
I may have to get those digits or something with me maybe here in a few weeks. Give him a ring. I'm gonna be down south where it's a little bit warmer for the next couple of weeks. Getting to see some racing in person. So when I come back, it's business as usual.
Well, hopefully we get this thing out, and there's no hopefully. This thing will be on the track.
This thing's going to hit the track this year.
Yeah, we got all of our parts lists taken care of. I called a couple other vendors. I'm trying to do price comparisons, and hoping to have everything here in the next few weeks.
Next question: Is it you guys are going modified, or is this a sport mod?
No, this is modified.
Modified. Okay.
Yep.
Have you drove anything?
Nope.
Other than a crate car?
Nope. Have not. So, like me personally, I'm only going to drive this thing on a practice day or when I rent the track unless I feel confident enough that I go out there and be safe.
Yeah.
Man, I see it weekend after weekend. I sit in the stands and I could write it down and tell you what's going to happen before it happens.
Yeah.
you learn the drivers.
Sure.
I mean, it's everybody. And I was one of those guys. I guarantee you, someone's like, man, that 29 car.
He's going to spin out.
Guarantee you he's going to spin out between 1 and 2, and sure as shit, man, I'll do it.
There you go, looping it up.
Yeah, but then that there's nights that, like I said, I didn't know nothing about the car, didn't know nothing about setups, but there's nights that the track came to the car, and those were my better nights.
Yeah, I definitely. I was not a very technical racer. I could go to my Pierce book and I should need to do this or I need to do that, but it's like I can really and whatever. And I've told this to a lot of people. I mean, I feel like I'm probably a very dumb racer. I mean, I know what the parts are and what this, but I don't know how to adjust it. I was never good at adjusting, so it's like if I get the car handling good, it's very. What's the track going to do? Isn't it going to mess me up? Because I don't want to change anything because I got it where I want it,
Yeah, well, and that's, and I watch a lot of guys do that. They won't change their setup because, this is what we raced last weekend. Yeah, that track's not the same.
Last weekend was not the same.
That track's, see, like hanging out with when Josh and Dylan, when they drove for us, I learned a lot there.
Yeah.
Those two, man, what goes on in their minds is scary. I mean, that's all they think about, know, and it's, those guys they can obviously, Josh and Dylan's record speaks for itself.
Sure.
We've gotten a lot of wins with them.
Yeah.
And so see, Josh and Dylan drove for us. Caleb Burgess drove for us. Like I said, Joey ran it one night, and then Vern Lefevre's was the first driver we had in the car.
Okay. So you've had some success from most all your drivers. Yeah.
The one person that probably got the worst deal out of all the cars I've owned was Caleb.
Okay.
When Caleb drove for me, the passion for driving and winning and owning it was leaving me. I was just I was kind of feeling an obligation. Okay. And but I enjoyed hanging out with Caleb. Now he busted his ass in the garage.
Yeah.
He took this chassis down to nothing, and that's where my enjoyment is. So like Sean coming over here and bending tubes and doing all that's where I had my fun with this car was Sean. And I'd come in the shop and he's leaning over this thing and I just start laughing. I'm like, "You sure you're not a plumber?" And but we've had a blast building this thing, and I'm hoping that we have some success in it as well. I'm sure we will.
Right.
I think every chassis has its day.
Sure.
It's all about setups.
It is. It is, and what that driver feels at that time. It's.
Yep.
Gosh, it's not like a big team sport. So you got 11 other players on the football field where, anybody can make a mistake and mistakes happen. But, man, this is kind of your one-and-one. That way that driver feels that eye-hand-foot coordination with the car,
And that's, some guys, they just have it, man.
Yeah.
Like, I thought when I first bought a car, I thought, man, I'm going to go out there and do great because I'm used to driving. Yeah. And I've got a little bit of experience in dirt, but nothing like this. And that's it took me a little bit to start figuring things out and understanding how it works. And, I went into the corners way too hot, buddy. So, I was like, I'm supposed to lift. Shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And, one of the moments I remember a lot, is I was coming out of turn or coming into one, going into two, and Bill, everybody knows I'm married to his ex-wife, and Bill and I, we get along, but I enjoyed that racing with him, and he was on the inside and I was outside, man, and I pushed this 602 for every penny it had, buddy. And I can't remember, something happened. I think he spun out before I did.
Yeah.
And I spun out right after this dude, man. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me. Like I was finally gonna, get ahead of him, and I freaking spun out too because I just mashed it right in the turn.
Yeah.
No, he didn't spin out. I think he might have hit a Uke tire, and but it didn't stop him. It just slowed him down. I think something like that, or maybe he got into the berm there at the bottom, but something happened where upset his car, and I knew I got ahead of him. And then, man, I just mashed it for everything it had. So I spun out. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I think Ethan beat both of us out. He did. Ethan finished in front of both.
Ethan beat you both.
Yeah. So it was a good night. It was a good night.
Guys will guys think sometimes that, man, just mashing that pedal down,
that's the worst thing you could do.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story off camera. It's a good one. But a particular driver, man, we were side by side, and I heard it. Zzz, you just hear the tires zinging, and I've never seen him again. It's like that didn't work. So you mentioned the love of. You enjoyed being in the garage, working on it, tinkering on it.
Yep.
My dad was big into hot rods. He loved hot rods. He liked going to the shows and stuff like that, and me and him did build we had a Model A that we kind of hot rodded out and everything. And he came out in the garage one time, and I was sitting there working on my dirt car, my super dirt stock. And he asked me, he says, wouldn't you rather have one of these? Because in the garage next to our garage is there, and he had his Model A, and I had my race car. And he said, "Wouldn't you rather have an old hot rod like this?" And I said, "Well, two things. No," I said, because one, I could spend all this money in a hot rod motor, and I can, put it in there, but where can I legally go out and use every penny that I just put in that motor? You can. It's for looks and show, and it's fast, but you can't bust up and down the highway as fast as you want to go. Yeah. But I also enjoyed working on the car every week, not rebuilding it, but tinkering with it, the maintenance, and if I got to straighten this or straighten that, I enjoyed that. You get them show cars done, it's just you wipe them off, and I'm like, that's not my thing, man.
Yeah. Well, and so my background is body and paint.
Okay.
And then I got rid of my cars. Mm-hmm. I got rid of a lot before I got married, and then I had quite a few throughout our marriage, and then when we got into dirt track, you don't have time for both.
No,
you just don't have time for both.
You don't
have.
Yeah,
it was bad. So you touched base on this subject in another interview, but it's all when I first started racing, that's the worst addiction I've ever had in my life. I mean, it's every minute of every day I'm looking up buying stuff.
Yeah,
it's bad. There's probably 10 grand in this shop of shit I don't even need.
Yeah,
probably. I thought I needed it. I don't need it. I give a lot of it away. Yeah. But it is by far the worst addiction. But as you know,
at least it's legal and it's clean.
Yeah. But once it gets you, it's hard to get rid of.
It'll take a toll.
But with my grandkids, I got my fourth grandchild's due any minute. Any minute. So if she hangs in there, it'll be on the 7th February, same as my wife's birthday. So we're hoping that Savannah makes it to then. But being a grandpa is that's where the racing started dying down.
Yeah.
And like I said, 5 years ago is when I got that phone call, and I went to the hospital. Now my wife, she left the hospital and came back to watch Ethan race. And then she was back and forth, and luck would have it that she didn't have Brindley until after the race.
Yeah,
so she didn't lose any time there. But my first grandchild, I wasn't leaving that hospital. So, but now I'm starting to get back into it. Like I said, having a lot of fun with Sean in the garage, and seeing this thing get close to where we can start hanging panels on it, and
it's close. It's getting close.
It's getting close, and it's just but I'm forcing myself to get back into that. Get back into that competitiveness.
I think as you start seeing sheet metal on it, that's when it's going to kick in.
Well, I think when it gets warmer and I'm out in the garage more often, but yeah, so no, I'm looking forward to it. So, we made this thing. Everybody asks, what's this jigged off of? This car's not jigged off of anything. It's
not jigged off anything.
It's out of Sean's head, so that's scary too. Like the guy will come over here, and I'm like, how the hell? Why do you know how to do this?
Yeah.
And he's like, gosh, just bending metal and welding it together.
Yeah, that's it.
And I can do a lot of shit. And I'm like, man, this is. But when you're bending your tubes, you got to bend it 3 1/4? When you bend it, you got to bend it so far back. What is it? Yeah, the bend back. So I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I wouldn't. That son of a bitch would have been creased right there if I was. But but I've learned a lot being in the shop and been in the bars with him, and
man, right there, you learn a lot there too.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention the guy's name, but a couple of stories. This guy was way ahead of his time. I mean, I've heard, and this is before guys would. I mean, now you have teams taking their dirt late models to wind tunnels and stuff like that. That's crazy. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I've heard stories of guys. It makes sense now that you say it, but it's like the guy was smart enough to take like drops of grease, drop it across the nose of his race car, go out on the racetrack, and then come in and see where those.
Read it.
Yeah, read your results from the grease drops. It's like. Yeah. I would probably not have thought of anything like that.
I've seen that done at the racetrack.
Yeah.
So, and gentleman, he was, from my time here in northern Kentucky, Rick Sester.
Okay.
This dude had some of the baddest cars at Thornhill.
Okay.
And I bet on.
That's a drag strip, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure.
Yeah. I would bet on him every weekend.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having Josh Rice. Yeah. In a mod or in a late model at Florence, I'm not sure as I ain't gonna bet against him.
Right, that's hard to do.
Yeah. So, but Rick was great, and he taught me a lot at the drag strip, and that was one of the things that he did.
He did that too.
Is he took he took grease and put it on his hood and roof, and I think he did a couple across to see how it would hit the spoiler.
Right. Yeah. I've heard stories of a guy taking a fuel cell and making it out of Lexan. So it's clear.
So you can see.
Putting it in a car, putting somebody in that car, then him go out behind and follow that car so you can see what the fuel's doing in the fuel cell. I'm like, man, that's a different level of stuff. Right
you got everybody doing it now with GoPros.
Yeah,
everybody's.
I think this might have been a little before you could.
Yeah, but I mean right. But that's how people are doing it today. Is the GoPros and
you study that stuff, man. It's there.
Yep.
Technology is endless.
Yeah, so the big help for us through our years was dyno chassis.
Oh, yeah.
They really tuned the car in there. And, man, I got a hell of a story on that one, but I don't know if we have enough time.
Do guys even use scales anymore, or is it just all done spring smashers?
Spring smashers. So we scale once a year.
Okay.
Or something crazy happens, you bend the car up, whatever, and you'll scale it. But it's spring smasher. Hell, I think it's in the trailer. It's not over there anymore. But and that's something I watch guys go back and forth on their shocks, and I know very little about that.
Right. Yeah, that's a whole nother ballgame.
I could sure shit adjust myself right out of a ballpark.
Right. Yeah.
And then
I've seen me do it.
Yeah. So Sean made a set of 4-bar plates for this thing. If I had time, I'd get up and get it. How many holes are in that? I mean, we got new ones on here now, so we're not running that. But it was for testing. How many? Shit, you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we would have been, but you go to a track and you see these guys, man, they're changing these bars, and I'm like, God dang, I sure as hell hope they know where they're going, man.
The thing I liked about my Pierce car was it had 3 holes. It had a standard, it had a slick, and it had a heavy. Yeah. And that was all I needed, right?
That's the way my 03 Rocket was. That's all it had. And then there was a bolt-on, bolt-on kit for it.
Yeah.
And Joey took that and threw it away. Yeah. But man, and then we jumped around a lot on different stories, but I don't know if I finished this one where Joey pulled in and taking off his belt, telling me, this is this and this is all wrong with the car, and that was one of the things he junked off of there. Yeah. And but yeah. So,
I seen a guy. We call it scale a car or whatever. He did it with a tape measure. I was helping Gary Engel, I think, at the time for a little bit, and Greg Johnson drove for him. Greg Johnson walked around all 4 corners with that tape measure, and said that should be pretty close. He put it on the scales, and he said, that thing was like right there where it needed to be. It's like, all right. Head to the track,
some of these old timers, man, they just and there's a lot of guys that'll still say they use grain scales.
Yeah.
They prefer those.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it because once you get them up there and
it's easier to get underneath and everything. Yeah.
Yep. But Yeah, it's just technology changes every year. It's like,
yes,
you know, you got guys like, you know, RTJ, dude. He's out. He's gone. That's a whole different ball game. So
some of these teams, I mean, you get to that level. I mean, it's you've almost got to have an engineer. You've got to have a tire guy. I mean, they have almost specialists for each thing.
But it's racing like anything else. Eventually, you know, someone's going to spill the beans, and then someone else is going to catch on. It's you know, we were talking about earlier today. It's like, you know, the device. Yeah. And then, you know, it's, you know, you hear, I've never seen this stuff, and then maybe it's a myth, I don't know. You know, the Bluetooth devices for shocks and all that stuff, I don't know.
Right.
But cheating's what makes, that's what makes the technology advance.
Sure.
And it's just, you know, when you find out what someone else is doing, you know, they're going to, you know, it's like who made the straight axle in the late model? Crazy Cars, man, and he kicked their teeth in every week with that thing. What is it? Who is it? Yeah, AK. Yeah. Well, anyways, he had that straight axle, and then you can't do that no more because he's just beating the hell out of him.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that's the part that, you know, in the drag racing side, you run what you brung.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would like to see a race at somewhere of Florence or Eldora, run what you brung. I would pay money to see that thing.
Have you seen some of the cars that show up for these things? I mean, like the late models, the wedge late models with the 10-foot sideboards, the wings on these things. Yeah,
I can't imagine wrecking one of them things.
I think it's kind of hard to.
It's like, if you do, it's like a bomb going off. There's any pieces going everywhere.
They would be, but man, I think those things just stick to the track, and they're just. I've seen videos of it. I haven't actually been to one, but man, they're just so hook and book, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yep, but so when's the last time you've been in a car?
It's been a while. It's been a while. Wow. Let's see. No, I think I played with a Legend car a couple of times. Not last year, maybe the year before.
But you were modified, right?
Yeah, I did the Super Dirt stuff for a little while, about on and off 5 years. Started in the 2000. That was the first year I started racing, and then in 2005 is when I went to modified. I got to the point where I was just like, man, every track, the rules, you were either too much of a car here, not enough of a car there, and you couldn't go anywhere else. You were really locked in. The thing about the modifieds were, it's like, well, it's not that much different. At the time, you know, you could change your carburetor. That motor was legal on both cars, and now for a modified, at the time it was either a spoiler or no spoiler. So if you had it on a hinge, you could just drop it down, and now you had no spoiler. So you were legal. So you could run more places, and you got a little bit more money back at the end of the night. So I kind of like that too. Parts were way easier to get for modifieds at the time too, because man, you could just pick up and order it and it's there the next day or whatever. So that was way easier than a street stock that, you know, hey, I've got to find this or I got to go find that, you know. And so I really liked the modified. I probably spent more time in a modified than anything. I never got to do any late model stuff or crate stuff. Talked about it with a couple people a few times. Wanted to, but it just didn't work out for whatever reason. But drove a TQ. That was a lot of fun. Drove a Legend car. Those were really fun. But I probably got more experience than anything in the modifieds. And had the sport mods been around at the time, I might still be turning laps. I don't know.
Other than the engine, there's really no cost savings. Is there?
Well, I mean, you go back a few years when the sport mods started, you know, they had cheaper shocks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, motor and shocks, that's big savings.
Well, that's what I bought first for this.
Motor and shocks.
Right after the tubes, it was like, well, we better get the motor. So, yeah, we really like the motor.
Yeah.
We had this in Ethan's car, and, you know, we took it down to, I think, was a mud lick the first time in it, man, and that was like the perfect motor for mud lick. And Derek Fisher came over. He set fast time, and if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I think it's track record there.
Okay.
And then Ethan was just right behind him.
Yeah,
and
right
he came
there.
over, and he's like, man, I know exactly what motor is in it, and he was right.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's probably my favorite engine, and so far it's one of mine. I mean, it's done really well for Ethan last year. So.
Yeah.
Well, we went through some motors last year, buddy. That was brutal. I mean, we had a brand new 604. I'm not going to say engine builders' names, but we had a brand new 604, and Daryl Lanigan called it right away. He said that motor was blowing up from night one because Ethan's first time in that car, he was checked out, buddy. And Josh King was texting. He's like, "You guys are turning just as fast times as supers right now." And you know, like in drag racing, and I'm sure it's the same deal. When your motor's ready to go and it's freed up, that's when she's fast.
That's when they're fast. That's what I've heard.
So we went out. The next race, the motor starts slowing down. And then the third one, we didn't even make it. That baby grenaded. And that was brand new motor. So that's, you know, I don't know, 15 grand, 12, 15 grand out of crapper. So then we got another motor, and I think it made it a few races. And then this was rough getting motors at that time. And then I called down somewhere, and I called Chevrolet in Tennessee, I believe.
Okay.
And had a brand new crate shipped up, and we took it and had Kearns build it. And that's what we have right now in his car.
Yeah.
So, but man, it's brutal going through that many motors.
Yeah, I would say. My entire racing career, the cars that I owned, I had the same block and probably the same crank the entire length of my career.
I wish I could say the same, man. That's not that. So when I was driving, I was very, very lucky. I was fortunate. I had great sponsors, and obviously Thomas Moore was a huge one for me. And but I had a good friend of mine bought me my first crate engine. I didn't pay for that. A buddy of mine bought it for me, and he sponsored the car. And I had that engine for, I don't know, 3 years, and took it to Travis, had him go through it, and he's like, man, it's the one that Vern Lefevre's when he was driving for us. He's like, this thing looks brand new. He's like, I'm going to put a valve in it. And he goes, but it looks great. Yeah. And then Josh Dietz started driving. And, so, I mean, we had a lot of success with the Kearns engine. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I started with a 406, 400 block. And, same block, same crank. I mean, I've updated some heads and other things along the way, but, steadily freshen it up every year like the Bible says, but never had my own motor blow or grenade or anything. Maybe blow the head gasket, something like that, but, I've been that right. You know what? I still have that motor. I've sold everything else I have. I still have my helmet, my uniform, and my motor. It's tucked away underneath the workbench.
Yeah, there's an engine laying over there under the workbench, but that belongs to that guy. And, whew, buddy, all that was good for a mock-up and a boat anchor. But yeah, so we've been pretty lucky.
Good. So before we wrap up, tell us about your business. You started a business. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we actually started a few, and that's where all my time's been. So I just want to get out of it and use it because we have a big pressure washing rig. That's what we built out of the garage for.
Okay.
And so, anyways, so we've been into that. People really, I don't talk a whole lot about what all we do.
Okay.
But we do a lot of remodels, and and we also do property maintenance, and we're in healthcare.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
But yeah,
something way different than this stuff.
Yeah, way different than this.
Yeah, but hey, you get whatever it takes to pay the bills, right?
Yeah, it pays the bills. Hey, man,
you got to buy the parts somehow.
Well, I have my successes and my failures. So I mean, and you just going out and starting a business. I guarantee you, we lose 15 grand for every 100 we make.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's about any business.
It's a learning curve.
You're responsible for your employees' mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And buddy, I've had some big ones. So yep. But the good ones make up for the bad. There's no business owner that can say, "Oh, I've never experienced that." They're full of shit. Because
they're not telling you the truth.
It's human error, man. It's human error. So I'm sure down the pipeline, I'm 45. I'm sure I've cost somebody money somewhere down the line,
some way, shape, or form.
And it's happened to me, and you just learn from it, and you hope to God your employees learn from it and move on.
Yep. Make up for it on the next one.
Yep. That's all we do, and and racing is a big part of that. It's just like your employer. That's huge into racing.
Yeah.
And it's really, we all work together.
Yep.
So,
yep.
And that, so I guess it's not that far from racing after all. So,
no, it's kind of not.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Eric, man, we're going to wrap things up, man. Definitely appreciate the time, and take two, I guess.
Yeah, take two.
Sometimes you got to do it twice to get it right,
Well, the first one, and you can air this part. The first one, we had a sponsor on the car that owed me $25,000.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't want to. I wouldn't want to give that guy any more advertisement because he owes me a lot of money.
I totally get that. You are not, and I tell this because it's my human error. I make mistakes too. I've done a second video with you. I had another guy I did an interview with because it turned out great, man. We sat there for an hour, man. It was gold. It was awesome. I got home, sat down at my desk, ready to start editing this thing, and I had absolutely no audio. I'm like, I got great video, but I had no audio. So I called my buddy back up and says, "Hey, man, did you have fun doing that?" He said, "Yeah, that was a blast." I said, "You want to do it again?" He's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I don't know what I did, but, man, I have no audio. So we got to redo it." So we redid it. It wasn't exactly the same, but it was still gold.
Well,
it was still gold.
I think to read it, because as we're ending this, I could think of so many things I wish we talked about.
Dude, that's where it is.
Like Caleb Burgess, he ran the world for us twice. That was during COVID, so there's the makeup. So was it 50, what was it, 49, 50, 51?
Yeah, 50, 51, I think.
Yeah, so we had a long week there. So I mean, the makeups, sometimes they're necessary.
That's right.
Because as we end this, I'll be like, damn, wish I talked about that.
Dude, it's, you know what? You could sit here for hours. It's like, if I didn't set a timer, man, we'd probably be here for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Cool. Hey, so again, man, hope you guys liked and enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All that great stuff. If you need merchandise, just shoot us a message. We got hats, T-shirts, hoodies, all that great stuff. And just hit us up, and we'll see you at the track next week. Thanks.